The train station smells of coal smoke and wet wool, and I am holding a letter that was never meant for my eyes. It sits in my hand, the paper soft and creased from weeks in transit, the handwriting smudged by rain and fingers and time. The envelope is addressed to Mrs. Evelyn March, but Mrs. March cannot read. She lost her sight to glaucoma 3 winters ago, and so the letters from her son have always come to me. I have read every word he wrote for 2 years. But this one is different. This one I read twice, standing on the platform with the wind cutting through my coat, and I still do not understand what it says. I have something to tell you, Ma. Something I couldn't write before. The train is late. They say it might not come at all today. The tracks are damaged somewhere upstate, and the soldiers are being rerouted through the city. But the whole town is here anyway, pressed together in the cold, because this is the day we have waited for since the war began. I fold the letter carefully and slip it into my pocket. It does not belong to me. I will give it to Mrs. March when this is over, when her son is home, and she can have someone else read it to her. Someone who will not stumble over the words. Someone who will not feel their heart crack open on the second page. His name is Thomas. Thomas March, though I never called him that. To me he was Tommy, since we were 7 years old and he pushed me into the creek behind his father's barn. I came up sputtering, ready to scream at him, but he was already reaching down to help me out, laughing so hard he could barely stand. "I'm sorry," he said, and he wasn't sorry at all. "You just looked so hot up there on the bank. I thought you might want to cool off." I hit him with a handful of wet mud. He grabbed another and threw it back. By the time his mother found us, we were both covered in brown sludge, grinning like fools, and she just shook her head and told us to clean up before supper. That was the first day I knew I loved him. I was 7. I didn't have words for it yet, but when he looked at me with those eyes the color of winter sky, I felt something settle in my chest that never left. A warmth. A certainty. A promise my heart made without asking permission. We grew up together in this town, a small dot on the map where everyone knows everyone and the biggest event of the year is the county fair. His family lived on the farm next to ours, separated by a field of wheat that we ran through so often we wore a permanent path between our houses. His father died when he was 16. I sat with him at the funeral, my hand in his, not saying anything because there was nothing to say. Afterward, he walked me home in the dark and stopped at the edge of my porch. "I don't know what I would have done without you today," he said. I wanted to tell him that he would never have to find out. That I would always be there. That whatever came, he could count on me the way the sun counts on rising. Instead I just squeezed his hand and said, "Get some sleep, Tommy." He kissed me that night. Soft and quick, like he was afraid I might break. Then he walked back across the field, and I stood on the porch until I couldn't see him anymore, and the warmth in my chest grew so big I thought it might lift me off the ground. The war came like a summer storm. One day we were talking about planting corn and fixing the roof on his mother's house. The next, the radio was crackling with news from across the ocean, and the young men were lining up at the recruitment office downtown. Tommy went the first week. I didn't try to stop him. I couldn't. There was something in his eyes when he talked about it, a fire I had never seen before, a need to do something that mattered. His father had served in the last war. His grandfather before that. It was in his blood, he said, like the soil and the seasons. "I'll come back," he told me the night before he left. We were sitting on the hood of his truck, looking up at the stars that seemed brighter than they had any right to be. "I'll come back and I'll marry you and we'll have 6 kids and a dog and a house with a porch swing." 6 kids. I laughed. "You're going to have to help with that many." He pulled me close, his chin resting on top of my head. "I'll help with everything. I'll help with all of it. Just wait for me." I tipped my face up to look at him. The moonlight caught the edge of his jaw, the curve of his mouth, the lines around his eyes that had appeared sometime in the last year, making him look older than 23. "I'll wait forever," I said. "So you better hurry." He kissed me then, slow and deep, like he was trying to memorize the shape of me. Like he knew something I didn't. The next morning, I watched his train disappear into the horizon, and I told myself it would be months, not years. Weeks, even. The war would end quickly. They all said so. They were wrong. The letters started coming in batches. 3 or 4 at a time, sometimes, because the mail was slow and the deliveries were unpredictable. I would take them to Mrs. March and sit with her while she held them to her chest, pressing the paper against her heart as if she could absorb his words through her skin. "Read them to me, child," she would say. And I would. His early letters were full of bravado. Descriptions of the other boys in his unit, the funny ones, the quiet ones, the ones who snored like bears. Complaints about the food. Jokes about the mud that followed them everywhere. He never talked about the fighting, not really, just the spaces in between. "I think about that creek every day," he wrote once. "I think about pushing you in and the look on your face, like you couldn't decide whether to kill me or kiss me. I think about the wheat field between our houses and how I used to run through it just to see you. I think about your hands. I think about your voice. I think about everything." I wrote him every week. Long letters filled with news from home, the price of eggs, the color of the autumn leaves, the way his mother's garden was overrun with tomatoes and she didn't know what to do with them all. I told him about the dog that showed up at my door and wouldn't leave. I told him about the new teacher at the schoolhouse and the scandal with the preacher's daughter. I never told him how hard it was. How I woke up some nights gasping, certain that something had happened to him, that I would feel it in my bones if he was gone. How I walked past his house every day just to make sure his mother was okay, just to see if there was news. How the waiting felt like drowning, slow and quiet, the water rising inch by inch until I couldn't breathe. I didn't tell him because he had enough to carry. He didn't need my fear weighing him down too. The letters changed about a year in. They became shorter, less detailed. He stopped asking about the dog or the tomatoes or the preacher's daughter. He started writing about the cold, the wet, the sound of shells in the distance, a sound he said he would never be able to unhear. And he started writing about Clara. "There's a nurse here," he wrote. "Clara. She's from Ohio, I think. She has steady hands. When they bring us in, she's the one who patches us up. Doesn't flinch at anything. I don't know how she does it." The first time I read her name, something cold moved through my chest. I told myself it was nothing. Nurses take care of soldiers. It's their job. She probably wrote letters for 100 boys who couldn't hold a pen. She probably held their hands while they screamed. But the name kept appearing. Clara sat with me last night. I couldn't sleep. She talked about her hometown until I forgot where I was for a while. Clara gave me her extra blanket. Said I looked cold. I told her I was always cold now. She laughed. I forgot what that sounded like. Clara says I talk about you in my sleep. I hope I say good things. I held on to those letters like a lifeline. He talked about me. He told her about me. That meant something, didn't it? That meant I was still there, still real to him, still the girl he was coming home to. I read his words over and over until the paper grew soft and the ink started to fade. I slept with them under my pillow. I carried them in my coat pocket. I built a fortress out of his sentences and hid inside it. The train whistles in the distance, pulling me back to the present. The crowd stirs, pressing forward. Someone shouts. A child laughs. The sound of metal on metal grows louder, and then I see it, the engine rounding the bend, smoke billowing into the grey sky. I should feel joy. Relief. The long wait is finally over. But my hand is in my pocket, clutching that letter, and I cannot move. The train groans to a stop. Doors open. Soldiers begin to step down, one by one, some whole, some leaning on crutches, some carried by stretchers. Families rush forward. Women cry. Men shake hands. Children run in circles, confused by the emotion they don't understand. I search the faces. I search and search and search. And then I see him. He is thinner than I remember. His shoulders are narrower, his face older, his eyes hollow in a way that makes my stomach drop. He steps off the train slowly, carefully, like he's not sure the ground will hold him. I take a step forward. My mouth opens. His name is on my lips. And then I see the woman behind him. She wears a nurse's uniform, the white fabric stark against the grey of the station. Her hair is pinned up beneath her cap. Her hands are clasped in front of her, steady, just like he said. She steps close to him, and he turns, and she takes his arm, and I see it. The ring on her finger. The way he looks at her. The way she looks back. The crowd moves around me like water around a stone. I stand frozen, the letter burning in my pocket, and I realize that I have been reading the wrong words all along. He wasn't writing to tell his mother he was coming home. He was writing to prepare her for what he was bringing with him. I do not remember walking away from the station. One moment I am standing on the platform, watching Thomas step off that train with another woman on his arm. The next, I am in my kitchen, sitting at the wooden table where I have read his letters 1,000 times, and the fire in the stove has burned down to ash. The letter is still in my pocket. I take it out now, smoothing the creases against the worn wood. I have read it 3 times already, but I read it again, hoping the words will rearrange themselves into something I can survive. Ma, I have something to tell you. Something I couldn't write before. There's a woman. Her name is Clara. She saved my life, Ma. Not just once. Not just twice. Every day I was over there. She was the reason I got up in the morning. And when I was hurt, really hurt, the kind of hurt I didn't put in my letters, she was the one who pulled me back. I know you were hoping for something different. I know Eleanor is waiting. But I came back different. I came back someone who needs Clara the way I need air. We got married 3 weeks ago, in a chapel near the hospital. A chaplain did it. It wasn't pretty. But it was real. I'll explain when I see you. I just needed you to know before I got there. Your son, Thomas. I read it again. The words blur. Eleanor is waiting. That's me. I am Eleanor. I am the girl who waited 2 years and 4 months and 11 days. I am the girl who wrote letters every week, who saved every word he sent, who walked through this town with my head high and my heart full, believing that love was enough. I am the girl who was supposed to be his wife. The days that follow are a fog. I go through the motions because that is what you do. I feed the chickens. I milk the cow. I mend the fence that's been broken since autumn. My hands know these tasks even when my mind is somewhere else, floating above my body, watching myself move through a world that no longer makes sense. The town talks. Of course it talks. There are no secrets in a place this small, and the sight of Thomas March stepping off that train with a strange woman was witnessed by 47 people, minimum. I hear the whispers when I walk to the general store. Did you see her? That nurse? They say they're married. Married? Can you believe it? Poor Eleanor. They were perfect together. Everyone thought. What's she going to do now? I keep my back straight and my face neutral. I do not give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. At night, though, alone in my house with only the wind for company, I take out the box of letters. All of them. The ones from the beginning, when he was still Tommy, still mine, still writing about the creek and the wheat field and the way he couldn't wait to come home. I spread them across the floor and I read them in order, searching for the moment it changed. The first mention of Clara comes in letter 42. I find it now, the paper more worn than the others because I have read it so many times. At first I read it for reassurance. See, he's talking about her like he talks about the other soldiers, like he talks about the weather, like she's just part of the landscape. But now I read it differently. There's a nurse here. Clara. She's from Ohio, I think. She has steady hands. I remember smiling at that line when it first arrived. Steady hands. What a nice thing to say about someone. What a simple, innocent observation. I was so blind. Letter 51 arrives 3 weeks later in the timeline of his words, though it took 2 months to reach me. Clara sat with me last night. I couldn't sleep. She talked about her hometown until I forgot where I was for a while. I remember the chill I felt reading that. The way I told myself it was nothing. Just kindness. Just a nurse doing her job. But now I see it. The intimacy. The way he didn't write about the other nurses sitting with him through the night. Just her. Letter 63. Clara says I talk about you in my sleep. I hope I say good things. I thought this was proof. Proof that I was still in his heart, still on his lips, still the one he dreamed about when he wasn't awake to guard his thoughts. But Clara knew. She knew he talked about me, and she kept sitting with him anyway. She kept being there, night after night, her steady hands and her quiet voice and her patient listening. She was replacing me before I even knew there was a competition. The letters from the final 6 months are the hardest to read. Not because they mention Clara more, they do, but it's subtle. It's what's missing that cuts deepest. He stops asking about the wheat field. Stops asking about the dog. Stops asking about the tomatoes in his mother's garden. His questions become generic, polite. How are things at home? Hope everyone is well. Tell Ma I'm thinking of her. He stops saying my name. I search through the last 10 letters, and my name appears exactly twice. Once in a postscript, give my regards to Eleanor, and once in a sentence about something else entirely. Tell Eleanor I got the package. The socks fit. That's it. That's all that's left of us. A sentence about socks. I sit on my floor surrounded by paper, and I realize that I have been in love with a ghost for months. The man who wrote those early letters, the one who remembered the creek and the mud and the way I looked when he pushed me in, that man had already started to fade. I just refuse to see it. A knock on my door pulls me from the memory. It's late, nearly dark, and I'm not expecting anyone. For a wild moment I think it might be Thomas. That he's come to explain. To tell me it's all a mistake, that the marriage isn't real, that he still loves me. I open the door. It's his mother. Mrs. March stands on my porch, her sightless eyes aimed somewhere past my shoulder, her hands gripping a cane she didn't used to need. She looks older than she did 2 years ago. The waiting has aged her the same way it aged me. Eleanor, she says, I need you to read me something. I help her inside, settle her in the chair by the fire. She pulls an envelope from her coat, the same one I read at the station, I realize. The one that changed everything. You read it already, she says. It's not a question. At the station. I saw your face when you finished. I nod, then remember she can't see me. Yes. What does it say? I hesitate. This is not my news to deliver. But she's blind and her son is a coward who couldn't tell her himself, and someone has to. It says he's married, I tell her quietly. To the nurse. The one who saved his life. Mrs. March is silent for a long moment. The fire crackles. The wind rattles the windows. I knew, she finally says. Mothers know. His letters changed. He stopped being my boy somewhere along the way. She reaches out, and I take her hand. It's thin and fragile, bird bones wrapped in paper skin. What will you do? She asks. I don't have an answer. I haven't let myself think past the shock, past the pain, past the moment on the platform when my whole future crumbled. I don't know, I admit. She squeezes my hand. You're stronger than you think, Eleanor. Stronger than him. Stronger than her. Don't you forget that. The next morning, I see them. I'm walking back from the well, water sloshing in the bucket, when I spot 2 figures near the creek. The creek where Tommy pushed me in when we were 7. The creek we swam in every summer. The creek where he kissed me for the first time. He's showing it to her. Clara stands at the water's edge, her uniform replaced by a simple dress, her hair down around her shoulders. She's beautiful in a quiet way. Not flashy. Not obvious. The kind of beauty that sneaks up on you. Thomas stands beside her, his hand at the small of her back. He's pointing at something. Maybe the spot where he pushed me, maybe the tree where we carved our initials, maybe the rock we used as a diving board. She laughs at whatever he says. I hear it across the distance. A light sound, like water over stones. I should turn away. I should walk home and pretend I didn't see them. But I can't move. I stand there with my bucket of water, watching the man I love show another woman our place. Then Clara looks up. Our eyes meet across the field. For a second, neither of us moves. I see something flicker in her expression. Recognition, guilt, something else I can't name. She knows who I am. He's told her about me. He's told her everything. She says something to Thomas. He turns. And now he's looking at me too. The distance between us is maybe 200 yards. It feels like an ocean. Like the war that changed him. Like all the letters I wrote that he stopped reading with his heart. I don't wait to see what happens next. I turn and walk away, my bucket sloshing, my legs somehow carrying me home even though I can't feel them. I don't look back. I can't look back. If I look back, I'll break. And I promised myself I wouldn't break where they could see. That night, I take out a fresh sheet of paper. I don't know what I'm going to write. A letter to him? To her? To myself? My hand hovers over the page. The pen shakes. And then I write 3 words. Tell me why. I don't send it. I fold it small and tuck it beneath my pillow, next to the box of his letters, next to the dried flower from our last summer together. But the question stays with me, growing in the dark. Why did the letters change? Why did he stop loving me? Why did she become the one he needed? And the question underneath all the others, the one I'm afraid to ask because I already know the answer. Was I not enough? 3 days pass before I see them again. I have been avoiding the town centre, the general store, anywhere I might have to face them. Let them think I am hiding. Let them think I am broken. I am learning that there is power in being unseen, in watching from windows while the world moves on without you. But the farm needs supplies. The chickens need feed. The cow needs hay. And I cannot hide forever. So on Thursday morning, I pin my hair back, straighten my dress, and walk into town with my head held high. I am Eleanor Rose. I have survived droughts and blizzards and the death of my father. I will survive this too. The general store is warm inside, smelling of coffee beans and leather and wood smoke. Mr. Harrison nods at me from behind the counter, his eyes soft with pity that makes my stomach turn. Morning, Eleanor, he says. The usual. Yes, please. I keep my back to the door while he gathers my supplies. Flour, salt, coffee, the basics. I focus on the shelves, on the cans and jars, on anything except the window that reflects the street behind me. Then the bell above the door chimes. I know it's them before I turn around. I feel it in the shift of the air, in the way Mr. Harrison's hands pause mid-motion, in the sudden silence that falls over the other customers. Thomas walks in first. He looks worse than he did at the station. Dark circles under his eyes. His face thinner than it should be, the bones too sharp beneath his skin. He's wearing civilian clothes now, but they hang wrong on him, like he hasn't figured out how to fill them again. Behind him, Clara. She is smaller than I remembered. Shorter than me by half a head. Brown hair pulled back, brown eyes that dart around the store before landing on me and stopping. For a moment, no one moves. Then Thomas sees me, and his face goes pale. The colour drains so fast I think he might faint. He opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. Eleanor. My name. The first time I've heard it from his lips in 2 years. Thomas. That's all I give him. One word. Flat and neutral, the way you'd greet a stranger on the street. He takes a step toward me. Stops. Looks back at Clara, who hasn't moved from the doorway. She looks like she wants to disappear, to sink through the floorboards and never be seen again. We. He gestures uselessly between himself and Clara. This is. I know who she is, I say. The whole town knows who she is. The words land harder than I intended. Clara flinches. Thomas looks like I've hit him. Eleanor, please. Let me explain. You've had 2 years to explain. I pick up my sack of flour from the counter. You wrote plenty of letters. You just stopped writing the truth. Mr. Harrison clears his throat. Maybe we should. No. I cut him off. They came in here. They can stay. I'm leaving. I walk toward the door, toward Clara, because it's the only way out. She steps aside to let me pass, and for a second we are close enough that I can smell her, soap and something medicinal, something that clings to nurses and never washes off. Eleanor. Her voice stops me. Soft. Quiet. The kind of voice that soothes frightened soldiers in the middle of the night. I turn. She looks at me with those brown eyes, and I see something I didn't expect. Sorrow. Real sorrow, heavy and deep. I'm sorry, she says. I never meant to hurt you. The words hang in the air between us. I want to scream at her. I want to tell her that sorry doesn't undo anything, that sorry doesn't give me back the 2 years I wasted, that sorry doesn't change the fact that she's wearing the ring that was supposed to be mine. Instead, I say nothing. I walk out the door and into the cold, and I don't look back. The whispers follow me home. I hear them in the rustle of leaves, in the creak of my floorboards, in the wind that rattles my windows at night. They follow me into my dreams, where I see Thomas standing at an altar with Clara, see him slip a ring onto her finger, see him kiss her while I watch from the back of the church, invisible. I stop sleeping. I stop eating. I move through the days like a clockwork doll, wound up and set in motion, going through the motions without feeling any of them. On the 5th night, someone knocks on my door. I don't answer at first. I sit at my table in the dark, watching the shadow beneath the door, waiting for them to leave. The knock comes again. Harder this time. More insistent. "Eleanor, please." Thomas's voice. Low and rough and desperate. I should ignore it. I should let him stand there until he gives up and goes back to his wife. But my legs carry me to the door anyway. My hand turns the knob. And then he's there, standing on my porch in the moonlight, looking more broken than I have ever seen anyone look. "I had to come," he says. "I had to try to explain." I step back. I don't invite him in, but I don't close the door either. He takes it as permission and walks past me into the kitchen, where the cold stove and the empty plates tell their own story. "You're not eating," he says. "I'm not hungry." He turns to face me. The moonlight catches his eyes, those winter sky eyes I used to lose myself in. They're different now. Older. Haunted by things I can't see. "I know you hate me," he says. "You have every right to hate me. But I need you to understand what happened." I cross my arms, holding myself together. "Nothing happened, Thomas. You met someone. You fell in love with her instead of me. It happens every day." "No." He shakes his head hard. "No, that's not. It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" My voice rises despite myself. Tell me how you went from writing about our future to marrying someone else. Tell me how I'm supposed to understand that." He sinks into the chair at my table, putting his head in his hands. For a long moment he just sits there, breathing, and I watch the way his shoulders shake. "I got hurt," he says finally. "Bad. The kind of hurt they don't put in letters because they don't want families to worry." I wait. There was an explosion. I don't remember most of it. Just noise and fire and then nothing. When I woke up, I couldn't move my legs. Couldn't feel them. I was in a hospital tent, and they told me I might never walk again. The anger in my chest flickers. Wavers. "I was in that bed for 6 weeks, he continues. 6 weeks of not knowing if I'd ever stand, ever run, ever work the farm again. 6 weeks of screaming at night, of bed sores and infections and wanting to die because at least dead people don't feel anything." He looks up at me, and there are tears on his face. Clara was there every night. Every single night. She held my hand when I couldn't stop shaking. She talked to me when I couldn't speak. She told me stories about Ohio, about her family, about anything that wasn't the war, anything that wasn't the pain. I want to look away. I want to keep my walls up. But the tears are coming now, and I can't stop them. "I started to need her," he whispers. "Not like I needed you. Different. She was there. Right there. Every moment I couldn't survive on my own. And somewhere along the way, needing her turned into something else." "Love," I say flatly. He doesn't deny it. The worst part is, I understand. I hate that I understand. I want to be the kind of woman who could stay angry forever, who could freeze him out and never look back. But I have spent 2 years imagining what he went through over there. I have read enough newspapers, heard enough stories, to know that war does things to people, changes them in ways we can't predict. He needed someone. She was there. It's as simple and as devastating as that. "When did you know?" I ask. "That you were going to marry her." He wipes his face with the back of his hand. "The day they told me I'd walk again. It was like being born twice. And the first person I wanted to tell wasn't you. The words hit like bullets. It should have been you, he says quickly. I know it should have been you. But you were so far away, Eleanor. 3,000 miles and a war between us. And she was right there, holding my hand when I took my first steps. I think about all those letters. All those words I read and reread, searching for clues I didn't want to find. He wasn't hiding it. He was telling me, slowly, gently, in the only way he knew how. Clara sat with me last night. Clara gave me her extra blanket. Clara says I talk about you in my sleep. He was saying goodbye. He just didn't have the courage to say it directly. Why didn't you tell me? My voice breaks on the last word. Why did I have to find out at the train station, in front of everyone? He looks at the floor. Because I'm a coward. Because I thought if I wrote it, you'd stop writing back, and I couldn't lose your letters too. They were the only thing keeping me sane some days. I laugh, but there's no humor in it. So you used me. You kept me waiting because you needed my letters. No. Yes. I don't know. He stands up suddenly, agitated. I don't know anything anymore. I don't know who I am or what I feel or how to be in the world now that I'm back in it. All I know is that Clara kept me alive, and I owe her everything, and I couldn't leave her over there alone. You owe her, I repeat slowly. You married her because you owe her. It's not just that. Then what is it? Do you love her? Really love her, the way you loved me? He doesn't answer. And in his silence, I find something I wasn't looking for. A crack. A doubt. A question he can't answer even for himself. After Thomas leaves that night, I do not sleep. I sit at my table until the sun comes up, turning his words over in my mind like stones in a river. He married her because he owed her. He married her because she was there. He married her because he couldn't leave her alone over there. But love. He couldn't say the word. I am holding on to that like a lifeline when the next knock comes. It is barely dawn, the sky still grey, and I assume it is Thomas again, come back with more explanations, more apologies, more words that change nothing. I open the door. It is Clara. She stands on my porch in the pale morning light, wrapped in a coat too thin for this weather, her hands bare and red from cold. She looks smaller than she did in the store. Younger. More frightened. Please, she says. I need to talk to you. Every instinct tells me to close the door. She is the woman who took my life. She is the reason I am standing in this kitchen with an empty bed and a box of letters that mean nothing. But something in her eyes stops me. Not guilt. Not apology. Something deeper. Something desperate. I step back and let her in. She stands in the center of my kitchen, looking around at the life I built while she was building hers with my fiancé. The braided rug my mother made. The curtains I sewed by hand. The photograph on the mantel of Thomas and me at the county fair, his arm around my waist, both of us laughing at something I can no longer remember. Clara sees it too. Her eyes linger on that photograph, and something crosses her face. Pain, maybe, or longing, or grief for a version of events that never happened. I'm sorry to come here, she says quietly. I know you don't want to see me. No, I agree. I don't. She nods, accepting this. I won't stay long. But there are things you need to know. Things Thomas won't tell you. I cross my arms. He told me about the explosion. About not being able to walk. About how you were there. Did he tell you everything? She looks at me steadily. Did he tell you about the nightmares? The screams? The mornings he woke up convinced he was still over there, still bleeding, still dying. The words land hard. I shake my head. Did he tell you about the infection? She continues. The one that nearly killed him. The one that had him burning with fever for 2 weeks, calling out names in the dark. What names? She hesitates. Yours. Mostly yours. Sometimes his mother's. Sometimes names I didn't recognize. I feel something crack inside me. He called my name. Even in the fever, even in the darkness between life and death, he called for me. But there was one name he never called, Clara says quietly. Mine. She sits at my table, and I sit across from her, and for the first time we look at each other not as rivals but as women connected by the same man. The night he almost died, Clara says, I sat with him for 18 hours straight. The doctors said there was nothing more they could do. It was up to him now. Up to whatever fight he had left inside him. I can picture it too clearly. The hospital tent. The lantern light. His face pale against the pillow. I held his hand, she continues. I talked to him. I told him about Ohio, about my sisters, about the dog I had when I was little. Anything to keep him anchored here. And somewhere in all those hours, I realized something. She looks down at her hands. I realized I would rather die than lose him. The words hang in the air between us. I should hate her for saying them. I should feel jealousy, anger, the hot rush of possession. But instead I feel something else entirely. Recognition. Because I would have done the same. I would have sat for 18 hours, for 18 days, for 18 years. I would have talked until my voice gave out, held on until my hands froze, done anything to keep him in this world. She loved him too. That's the truth I didn't want to face. She isn't a villain. She isn't a home wrecker. She's just a woman who fell in love with a man who was dying, and who pulled him back from the edge with nothing but her voice and her hands and her heart. When he opened his eyes, Clara whispers, he looked at me like he didn't know where he was. And then he said something I'll never forget. What? He said, You're not her. The tears come before I can stop them. They slide down my cheeks, warm and silent, and I don't wipe them away. He meant you, Clara says. He was disappointed it was me sitting there. Disappointed, Eleanor. In that moment, after everything, he wanted you. Then why? Because he couldn't have you. Her voice breaks. Because you were 3,000 miles away and the war wasn't over and he didn't know if he'd ever see you again. Because I was there, and I loved him, and he was so tired of fighting alone. She tells me the rest slowly, piece by piece, like someone picking shards of glass out of a wound. The weeks that followed. The slow recovery. The way he started to lean on her because she was the only solid thing in a world that had become liquid and strange. The night he kissed her, not with passion but with desperation, like a drowning man grabbing for air. The proposal. He asked me to marry him at 3 a.m, Clara says. He'd had another nightmare. He was shaking so badly he couldn't hold a cup. And he looked at me and said, Marry me, Clara. Marry me so I know someone will be there when I wake up. And you said yes. I said yes. She meets my eyes. Because I loved him. Because I thought love was enough. Because I thought that over time, he would stop needing you and start needing me instead. But he didn't. She shakes her head slowly. He loves me. I know he does. But it's not the same. It's not what he feels for you. And I have to live with that every single day. I don't know what to say. The woman I wanted to hate is sitting in my kitchen, crying, telling me that she lost the same man I lost. That she's losing him still, every day, in every quiet moment when he looks at something and she knows is thinking of me. Why are you telling me this? I ask. Because I can't do it alone. She wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. He's broken, Eleanor. More broken than you know. He wakes up screaming. He walks around at night because he's afraid to close his eyes. He can't be in crowded places. He flinches when anyone touches him from behind. I think of Thomas at the train station. The way he stepped off slowly, carefully. The way he looked around like he expected danger. The hollow eyes, the sharp bones, the way his clothes hung wrong. I thought I could fix him, Clara continues. I thought love could fix anything. But love doesn't fix war. Love doesn't undo what he saw, what he did, what was done to him. Then what does? She looks at me, and in her eyes I see something I never expected. Humility. You, she says. He needs you. Not the way a husband needs a wife. The way a man needs to know that somewhere in the world, there's someone who remembers who he was before. The sun is fully up now, streaming through my kitchen windows, lighting the dust motes dancing in the air. Clara and I have been talking for hours. The stove is cold. The coffee untouched. The thing is, Clara says slowly, I don't know if I can stay. I stare at her. What do you mean? I mean, he married me because he was scared and grateful and I was there. But now we are here, in this town, in his real life. And I see the way he looks at the wheat field between your houses. I see the way he stops walking past the creek. I see the way he says your name in his sleep, even now, even after everything. She stands up, walks to the window, looks out at the fields I've tended alone for 2 years. I'm not his home, she says quietly. I never was. I was just a place he stopped on the way back to you. The words settle over me like a blanket. Heavy. Warm. Confusing. What are you saying, Clara? She turns to face me. I'm saying that if there's a chance, any chance, that he could be whole again, it starts with you. Not me. You. I can't. The words come out before I can stop them. He married you. He chose you. He chose survival. She shakes her head. There's a difference. And I think if you asked him, really ask him, he wouldn't be able to say which of us he actually chose. We stand there, 2 women on opposite sides of a love that was never fair to either of us. What do you want me to do? I ask. Clara takes a breath. Then she says something that changes everything. I want you to come to dinner tonight. At his mother's house. All 3 of us. And I want you to look at him, really look at him, and decide if the man who came back is someone you can help or someone you need to walk away from. And if I walk away, then I'll stay. Her voice is steady. I'll stay and I'll love him the best I can, even if it's not enough. But if you stay, if you think there's something left between you. She doesn't finish the sentence. She doesn't have to. The choice is mine now. Ready for next part? Part 5, 1400 words. Part 5. The choice. I spend the rest of that day doing nothing. That is not true. I spend it doing everything except what matters. I scrub the floors until my knees ache. I mend a shirt that doesn't need mending. I bake bread I won't eat. My hands stay busy so my mind can pretend it isn't racing. But the sun keeps moving. The hours keep passing. And when the clock strikes 5, I am standing in front of my mirror in the only good dress I own, staring at a woman I barely recognize. She looks older than I remember. Stronger too. There are lines around her eyes that weren't there before the war, before the waiting, before the letters stopped meaning what they used to mean. She has survived things her younger self could never have imagined. She can survive one dinner. I hope. Mrs. March's house looks the same as it always has. The same white porch. The same blue shutters. The same path through the wheat field that I have walked 1,000 times, first as a child, then as a girl in love, then as a woman waiting. Tonight, I walk it as someone else entirely. Clara opens the door before I knock. She has changed too, hair pinned up, a dress that softens her edges, something vulnerable in her eyes that wasn't there this morning. Thank you for coming, she says quietly. I nod. I still don't have words for her. The kitchen smells like roast chicken and potatoes, Mrs. March's specialty, though I know she didn't make it. Clara must have cooked. The thought unsettles me. This woman learning his mother's recipes. This woman making herself at home in the house where I once imagined living. Thomas sits at the table, his back to the door. He doesn't turn when I enter, and I wonder if he knows I'm here, if he's avoiding the moment, if he's as terrified as I am. Then I see his shoulders. The way they shake, just slightly. The way his hands grip the edge of the table like he's holding on to keep from falling. He's crying. Thomas March, who never cried when we were young, who held his father's coffin with dry eyes and a set jaw, is sitting at his mother's table crying. Mrs. March is beside him, her blind eyes aimed in his direction, her hand on his arm. She doesn't speak. She just sits there, holding him, the way mothers do. Clara touches my elbow. It's been a hard day, she whispers. Anniversary of something that happened over there. He doesn't talk about it. He just falls apart. I should feel satisfaction. He deserves this pain, doesn't he? After what he did to me. But I don't feel satisfaction. I feel my heart cracking open again, wider this time, making room for something I didn't expect. Compassion. I sit down across from him. For a long moment, no one speaks. The clock ticks on the wall. The fire crackles in the stove. Thomas keeps his eyes on the table, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Tommy. His name. The old name. The one only I ever used. He looks up. His eyes are red, swollen, so full of pain that I have to look away. This is not the boy who pushed me in the creek. This is not the man who wrote me love letters from across an ocean. This is someone I don't know, someone broken in ways I can't see, someone who needs help I'm not sure I can give. Eleanor. My name sounds different in his mouth now. Older. Heavier. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you have to see me like this. When have I ever seen you any way except exactly as you are? The words come from somewhere I don't recognize. Some deeper part of me that has been waiting to speak. I pushed you in the creek when we were 7, and you came up sputtering and hit me with mud. I sat with you at your father's funeral, and you held my hand so tight I lost feeling in my fingers. I watched you leave on a train, and I waited 2 years for you to come back. I lean forward. I have seen you at your best and at your worst. I have seen you laugh and I have seen you grieve. So yes, I can see you like this. I can see all of it. The question isn't whether I can see it. The question is whether you'll let me stay. He stares at me. Clara stands in the doorway, motionless. Mrs. March's hand tightens on her son's arm. I don't know how to be the man you remember, Thomas whispers. That man is gone. The war killed him. Then be the man who came back. There's nothing left. I reach across the table and take his hand. It's cold. Shaking. So different from the hand that held mine at the county fair, at the creek, on the night before he left. That's not true, I say quietly. You're here. You're breathing. You're sitting at your mother's table with people who love you. That's not nothing. That's everything. Dinner is strange. We eat in shifts, in silences, in small bursts of conversation that start and stop like faulty engines. Mrs. March talks about the garden. Clara asks about the town. I answer questions I don't want to answer and pretend not to notice the way Thomas keeps looking at me. Afterward, Clara clears the plates. Mrs. March retires to her room. And Thomas and I are alone at the kitchen table for the first time in 2 years. She told me what you said, he says quietly. Clara, about this morning. I wait. She told you everything. The nightmares. The infection. The way I called your name. Yes. He stares at his hands. I didn't know she was going to do that. I didn't ask her to. I know. Do you hate her? The question surprises me. I think about it. Really think about it. No, I say slowly. I don't hate her. I wanted to. It would be easier if I did. But she loves you. Anyone can see that. And she came to me today not to fight, not to claim you, but to try to help you. That's not someone I can hate. He looks up, and something shifts in his eyes. Relief, maybe. Or gratitude. Or something else I can't name. She's a good person, he says. Better than I deserve. Maybe. I meet his gaze. But you don't get to decide what you deserve. That's for the people who love you to figure out. Clara comes back into the kitchen. She stops when she sees us, hands wrapped in a dish towel, uncertainty written across her face. I should go, she says. Give you time to. Stay. The word comes from both of us at once. Thomas and I look at each other, surprised. Clara hesitates. Then she pulls out a chair and sits. The three of us at the same table. The woman he loved. The woman he married. And the man caught between them. I don't know how to fix this, Thomas says finally. I don't know how to be fair to either of you. I don't even know what fair looks like anymore. Maybe fair isn't the point. Clara's voice is soft but steady. Maybe the point is figuring out what's true. And what's true? I ask. She looks at me. then at Thomas, then back at me. The truth is, he loves us both. Different, but both. The truth is, I knew that when I married him. The truth is, I married him anyway. I should be angry. Instead, I feel something unexpected. Respect. What are you saying? Thomas asks. Clara takes a breath. I'm saying that maybe there's another way. Not the way anyone expected. Not the way anyone planned. But maybe a way that doesn't require any of us to disappear. I stare at her. You mean, share him? No. She shakes her head. I mean, stop pretending love is a competition. Stop pretending there's only one right way to do this. He's broken. We both love him. Maybe that's enough for now. Maybe that's all there is. The silence that follows is so complete I can hear my own heartbeat. Thomas looks at me. Then at Clara. Then back at me. I don't deserve either of you, he whispers. No, I agree. You don't. I stand up from the table. Both of them watch me, waiting, afraid. I'm not saying yes to anything, I tell them. I'm not making promises I can't keep. But I'm not walking away either. Not yet. I look at Thomas. You hurt me. More than anyone has ever hurt me. And I don't know if I can forgive that. I don't know if I can trust you again. But I know that the boy who pushed me in the creek is still in there somewhere. And I know that the woman who saved his life deserves more than to be treated like a mistake. Clara's eyes fill with tears. So here's what's going to happen. My voice is steady now, stronger than I feel. We are going to take this one day at a time. No decisions. No promises. No pressure. Just time. To heal. To figure out who we are now. All of us. Thomas nods slowly. Clara wipes her eyes. And if, somewhere down that road, there's a way forward that doesn't destroy anyone, maybe we'll find it together. I walk home through the wheat field under a sky full of stars. Behind me, the lights of his mother's house glow warm in the darkness. Inside, two women who love the same broken man are washing dishes, talking quietly, finding their own strange way forward. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if Thomas will heal. I don't know if Clara will stay. I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at him without feeling the sharp edge of betrayal. But I know one thing. The girl who waited by the train station, holding a letter that wasn't for her, she's still here. Still standing. Still choosing to face whatever comes. Not because love is easy. Because love is all we have. And sometimes, that's enough.